Thank you so much, Steve. Israeli troops pushing their way into Gaza, marking what Prime Minister Netanyahu says is the second stage of the war. So what can we expect in the coming days on the ground? And are the Israeli people prepared for what the Prime Minister has said will be a long, drawn-out battle, and one that could get very ugly, very deadly on both sides? Joining me now, retired IDF captain and chief columnist of the Jerusalem Post, Caroline Glick. Caroline, it's great to have you here tonight. What did you make of Prime Minister Netanyahu's comments today? Is that the message Israel needed to hear?
I think that that's a message that we expected to hear. I think that the Israeli people have made very clear that we're ready for whatever comes, because we understand, as he said, that this is the war for Israel's survival and that we have to win it.
It strikes me, having come here for some 21 years now through various conflicts, that I have never seen Israel more united. Is that a fair reading of the mood of the population?
Yeah. I mean, you've been here, coming here for 21 years, so you were here with the major Palestinian terror offensive here in 2000 until 2004. And we experienced slaughter at that time, but nothing on this kind of Holocaust-level scale, and this kind of barbarism at such of such dimensions. So I think that it's not just shock, it's anger, and it's also resolution, that we're resolved as a people that we have to simply annihilate Hamas. We can't continue to live with this jihadist Nazi force on our border.
Now, the annihilation of Hamas, by definition, by need, is going to mean troops going in on the ground. It's not going to be, but in much greater numbers, obviously. We know that there are some numbers in there now. They're going to go in much greater numbers. There will be Israeli casualties. How prepared do you think the Israeli citizens are for what is to come? As Prime Minister Netanyahu said today, it is going to be tough. It's going to be a long time.
Well, we've never had a war before that began with this kind of a slaughter. So this is an unprecedented war, that the collateral damage, such as it is in war, we suffered at the outset. And we have 30 babies inside of Gaza. Now we have 18 people over 76 years old. I mean, we have women who have gone through unspeakable things there. So, I mean, now's the time for our soldiers, our men of steel, to go in there and pound them into the ground.
Now, the families of the hostages, or some of them, met with the Prime Minister today. There was talk from some of them of do a deal, get the hostages back in return for releasing pretty much every Palestinian prisoner held by Israel. How difficult a balancing act is that for the Prime Minister in this situation?
It's tremendously difficult because, not obviously, but the fact is that the kind of deal that they're discussing, that we let out all of the murderers from Hamas and Islamic Jihad that are in our jails, including the ones who carried out the slaughter on October 7th, would mean that next time we wouldn't have 230 hostages, we would have 1,000 or 2,000. So, I mean, we understand the scale of what's going on here, and it's only going to escalate if we don't defeat them. You know, we found in the past that the best way to rescue hostages is to go in and rescue them. That's what we did in 1976 at Entebbe. And so I think, you know, Prime Minister Netanyahu said that everything is on the table, and we'll just have to see what that means, because to balance the two war aims of releasing the hostages, of rescuing the hostages, and bringing about the victory that we require in order to survive in our land, is delicate. But it also requires no concessions to Hamas.
And briefly, before I let you go, what do you make of the support that Israel has received so far from President Biden, and the pressure that Israel has gotten from the U.S. to open up humanitarian corridors, or at least to allow some aid into Gaza?
I think that Minister Benny Gantz actually spoke to that almost directly in his remarks today at the press conference, when he talked about the appreciation that we have for American support, and also the fact that sometimes we also have to say no, because the problem with the humanitarian aid is that it's really a euphemism for resupplying Hamas, because they control every truck that comes in. And one of the
Yep.
things that we found is that the trucks come in with full tanks of fuel, and then they siphon off all the fuel for
Yeah.
themselves. So
They control everything. It's
a very problematic demand on
Yeah.
the part of the Biden administration.
Sure.
Since we need to win, we can't resupply Hamas.
Yeah. Caroline Glick of the Jerusalem Post, a pleasure to have you here with us tonight. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Also breaking tonight, legendary